Hi and welcome back to another video of JPlay. I am Marcus and today I'm about to start my solo playthrough of The Thing, the board game, which is pretty much the latest game of the quote-unquote series. So there were various other board games circling around the same movie, but today we are doing The Thing, the board game. Normally it's a traitor game, and really the more the merrier. I just recently played it with full 8 players. We had a blast, really a tremendous game. Some of the rules are a bit vague, so yeah, bear with me. I play as I interpreted some of the rules, also followed some threads on the Geek. I think we will be fine. Also, a little disclaimer, I'm using the German version of the game. So yes, you will see the occasional German whatever description of a card somewhere. The one thing I tried to do was to translate the special abilities of those characters. I was using DeepL for that, so if you're looking at this and you do know or own the English version of the game, the text might look slightly different. I think I still captured the spirit of what those abilities really mean, but yeah, bear with me. That's something I basically did for this video. The majority of this game is pretty much language independent. Yes, you will see some German descriptions of locations here and there. So for example, the kennel is Zwinger in German, so I didn't translate those location cards, but because the iconography is relatively straightforward and clear in this game, I think we should be fine. As usual, I will explain everything as I go. As we don't have any, let's say, human or player traitors in this one, we still don't know who from our characters might be the Thing. And the way how this works is there are 8 of those, let's call it loyalty cards. 6 of those show human, 2 of those show the Thing, or das Ding in German. And I don't know, we are only using 6 of those, so when you play the 1 to 3 player rules, you will always play a 6-player game, but 2 cards aren't here. I didn't look at those. It might as well be that all of those Thing cards are pretty much shuffled out of the deck. I don't know, but there are ways to find things out. And in order to win this game, we either have to escape with a rescue helicopter here, which is slowly approaching as soon as we're doing things, repairing the comms room or so. The next thing we can do is to fix our, let's say, own helicopter here. Right now it has 4 damage mark in it. We also have to fuel it accordingly, and we can also immediately make our escape, but we also need to find some keys first. And the last thing that we can do is to repair our snowcat here. Works pretty much the same thing as with the helicopter. Honestly, mechanically, I'm not sure why they have introduced basically those two. I get it from a thematic perspective, but I don't know why we have these 2 station-wide things. So you can either repair the helicopter or you can repair the snowcat that is, and we also have to fuel it accordingly. But for now, let's simply accept that. Obviously, we lose if we all die or if we are freeze to death. I don't know. As I haven't played the solo game before, or the 1 to 3 player game before. I don't know how likely that is, how difficult it is. The final escape in this solo mode is, I think, it's relatively random, as you basically have to deal with a final assault from the Thing when you're making either escape route, and then depending on what it is rolling, we might win or lose. Not really lose, but then we have to keep going, that is. In the normal multiplayer mode, it's also somewhat random, as you also can basically decide to leave now, but then it's pretty much among the players to decide who gets to get on board on the rescue helicopter, for example, or is left behind. And if you're leaving someone behind who is a human player, you lose the game. If you let someone on board who is the Thing or the Thing character, you're also losing the game. So yeah. And that's basically how the last multiplayer session basically went. Yeah, but I think with that being said, I'm pretty much good to go. I decided that McGreedy here is our starting player. His special abilities: when you are in the armory and you are assigned a use action card, you may draw 3 cards, choose 1, return the other 2 to the pile. The first thing that we have to do in a given round is to roll for those weather conditions. And depending on basically the result, it can be sunny, it can be cloudy, or it can snow. know things will happen. That's basically the overlay card for a 6-player game. For a 4-player game, this might look a little bit different. So let's see. So yes, we are starting with the worst possible weather whatsoever, which basically means we are losing 3 of our fuel from our boiler room. You simply have to spend this fuel in order to keep the base as warm as possible. And this stuff is pretty much out of the game. We still have a lot in our storage, at least it seems to be a lot. But yeah, our reserve will definitely shrink over time. And whenever you're not allowed or cannot pay the amount of fuel that you need, then this boiler room is taking damage. And unlike most of the other, let's say, rooms in here, once it's completely broken, then the boiler room is down, and then it's very likely we are going to freeze to death. We are still not done yet, as we also have to deal with our generator room, so we also have to spend that accordingly because we rolled snow. We also have to get rid of 2 oil in here, but that's okay. So we will definitely survive another round in here without any problems. But that's basically in respect to the weather phase. We are not moving the rescue helicopter at this point in time, as we haven't called it. We have to again repair the comms room first, so we can directly jump into the character movement. Right now we are all here in the dormitory, and there are reasons to go to or to send 2 or more characters to the same locations, but there are also reasons to not do that. Basically because you want to avoid encounters, because encounters are what is pretty much driving the game forward here. So these are the what are those called, suspicion discs or so, the suspicion markers. So once we are making it here to this alien marker, one of those characters is immediately infected and will immediately turn into a thing, basically, and then the game will significantly change from that point in time. Since then, I think in a solo game, that's not really the end of the world. We can still do stuff in order to find out who might be the thing, just to make sure as soon as possible. But yeah, that's basically what you are kind of trying to avoid, moving too fast on this suspicion track here. One of the first things that we want to do now is to call for the rescue helicopter. In order to do that, we have to do some repairs in the radio room. The comms room is the radio room. I just checked that. So I guess we are moving someone in there. Again, turn order in a solo game doesn't really matter too much. Normally you're going around the table, but as I'm really playing against my own, there is no treachery involved in that. And I think right now it doesn't really matter too much. There are characters which we definitely want to send somewhere else, but I think overall we can start with Clark to send him here. And I'm also considering to send someone here because there are some, let's say, corporation bonuses in those rooms, so we can repair somewhat faster. So maybe let's also send Gary in there. For now, they will have an encounter, which again also in the solo mode is not necessarily the end of the world. It will move their suspicion markers, but still it will, we will be able to deal with that. I definitely do think we have to send Knowles to the kitchen in order to get some food. Right now we have a lot of these awesome spam. No, and when this runs out, terrible things will happen, so we are basically losing an action die each round. But right now we are still okay, and sending Knowles in there with his special ability allows us to be a little bit more efficient with our food production. Unlike it's been described in the rules, I checked on the Geek, and there was one comment which made me think that you are still performing the, let's call it, loyalty check when you are making the escape. So very much similar to what you would do in a normal multiplayer game. So you are still not allowed to leave humans behind, and you are not allowed to let baddies join you, which kind of makes sense actually, because otherwise we wouldn't need those loyalty cards in the first place. And that's the main reason, I know it was a long introduction, to send Dr. Blair into the laboratory in order to find some hopefully blood samples there, which we can then use to figure out who is who. And it's also helping us to reduce the suspicion. If someone proves to be basically a human, then his suspicion moves back to the green zone of the suspicion track. We have 2 more folks left, and I think Norris has to go to the boiler room in order to do something. And originally I was thinking of sending McCready to the armory. The problem is he might only, most likely he will only get 1 fuel in there, and that could be a potential problem actually if the next weather result is also a snow symbol. Actually, I think it's pretty much evenly distributed on that die, if I recall that correctly. Let's check. There's a snow, there's a snow. Yeah, I think it's even. So 2 snow, 2 cloudy, and 2 sunny. So if we're rolling that again, we would already take our first damage here. So I might be inclined instead sending, I think we have to send McGreedy here to the boiler room too. Yeah, let's do that. So in this case, Blue, Norris, and McCready are meeting, which means their suspicion track is moving. And that's also something that happens in the multiplayer game, but this would not be in the multiplayer experience the perfect time to infect someone else. If you would be the Thing, for example, you can infect someone else. And really great mechanic, actually. And we do have to do the same thing for Clark and Gary here, because they're also meeting here in the radio room. So white and red discs are moving too. Right now, that's still okay. Again, the most immediate problem is when they're hitting this alien token here. I know, yeah, I don't own the alien miniatures and so on. Extremely expensive. I didn't back it on Kickstarter actually. Let's see if I get those or not. But again, right now they're serving this one and only purpose. It's a marker in the end. So I'm totally fine with those standees here. And those were pretty much the movement. Next we would have the alien actions. Luckily we don't have any exposed aliens or the Thing yet. So we can directly jump into the character actions. Before we are making a decision on who is going to do actions, we are getting to roll the die and then we can assign those to a character. I believe this works somewhat different if we are in darkness, and we will be in darkness if our generator room ever fails, but right now we are still okay. So yeah, let's roll those dice, and that's an okay symbol actually. So we do have, I think this is the infection roll or what it is, cannot quite remember, I think, or alien threat or so, and those two are use icons, so those are obviously good. As we did roll a bad outcome here, this alien threat, we have to do something about that. So first of all, I think we are assigning this now. I mean, that's a good result. I think instead of assigning this to Knowles, let's give this to either McGreedy or Norris, right? And he can now basically move his suspicion marker one space to the right for every bad symbol he wants to negate. In this case, that's only one. Here, it doesn't really matter which one we are giving it to. McGreedy right now is the more or less, call it, important character for me. So let's have basically assign these dice to him, actually, to Norris, which means we are moving his disc forward accordingly. So we have successfully negated the one ill effect, and now we get to choose one of the basically other dice which action we are going to trigger. Both of those are the same, so we don't really have a choice, but that's exactly what we wanted to have here, which in this case is we are going for a use action. And a use action down here allows us to add 1 barrel of oil to the, basically the fuel tank for the boiler room in here. So we are laying him to the side, but as we do have the corporation bonus, so we have another character in here too, we are basically getting to do the same action again without having to lay him down. We don't have to use him. So in the solo mode, I think having 3 now here might be okay. Really depends a little bit on how things are going later on. And now I get to decide if I want to stop the character action phase or not. Right now I think I'm in an okay shape. You have to do that at least once, and that's also very similar to the multiplayer game. The leader, which is of course moving around on the table, typically at least, as long as at least someone is working against that, can really at any point in time say, oh, let we stop doing actions here, which of course is the perfect opportunity for let's say hidden alien player to whatever hinder the others, or maybe taking too much risk to whatever bring them in danger as well. So I think overall really a great mechanic. In this case, I think let's continue to roll at least once more, maybe twice. I think we have some more action. So that's now really bad. So we have basically 2 ill effects, and we do have a result which we don't really need, at least not here. We need the repair result though over here in the radio room. The problem still is we have 2 ill effects. So if we are now assigning this to, I don't know, Clark, for example, his disc would move 2 spaces, because we can also say let's only negate this die because we don't want the alien marker to move to the left. This will really tremendously speed the game up not in our favor, that is. But if one of those ill effects will remain after we have the opportunity to do negate those, we are not going to take the action. So we have to lay him down, and then it's basically game over. So I think I might be out of my mind, but I think we are going to negate twice. And again, it doesn't really matter too much right now who we are assigning it to. Clark is great because he can ignore dogs in all those spaces. Right now the dogs are not out yet. They will come at the end of this round. Gary also allows us to, I think, get some more. Oh, wait a second. I think he can re-roll a die actually. So if we assign it to him, we could try to re-roll that. Yeah, okay, I think I like that, because again his special ability says during phase 4, after you draw cards, you may discard one extra card and draw a new one. So in this case we are basically rolling one extra die. Yeah, let's do that. Honestly, this is the, I think, worst result. I think let's re-roll that one, and that's another one. So again, if we would stop here and say we are not going to negate anything, we would simply add 2 more damage marker here to the radio room. So they have really made things worse. So in this case, we are going to negate those 2, which could be a terrible mistake actually. But then we are getting to take the repair action. Again, we have the cooperation bonus here, so Clark is helping us, so we are allowed to remove 2 of those damage markers from that room. And as soon as we have repaired it, we can then take basically a use action here, and then we are calling until you basically have to do that. The use action is really once per game when we have repaired this room here. But yeah, we have to get there first. Okay, now are we going to roll again? And I think we definitely need food. That much is clear. And I'm really inclined, if this roll is okay, we might go for another roll here for Dr. Blair in the laboratory. But we need food, because if we are not preparing food, then we will basically eat 4 of those spam cans at the end of this round. And then really we are, yeah, losing food like crazy. So let's do that again. Oh gosh. And that's now a result which we don't need at all. So that's terrible. We cannot assign this to Knowles. We cannot assign this to Dr. Blair. They only need use icons. The only one who could use the repair result is Clark, again in the radio room. And the question is, do I want to take 2 more suspicion hits right now? Again, it's a different character, that's good. We are not getting the cooperation bonus anymore because he has basically taken his action, so he's pretty much no longer there. But wow, should we move those folks so fast? If we don't do that, we are simply adding those back in. Then we didn't make any progress whatsoever. And I don't want that. So let's increase the track here as well for Clark. So basically both of those dice have been negated, and we are taking the repair action. Again, he's now on his own, and at least we were able to repair 1 more. Okay, But yeah, he has taken his action, so he's out. The only 2 that are left are now Knowles and Dr. Blair. And I think, yeah, it's also very even actually. So we have 2 results on each of those dice which we need. So I think we need food. We need food. I have to try it one last time. And perfect. That was great. So I guess I'm totally assigning this to Knowles, which now allows him to move 1 of those food tokens into the kitchen. It doesn't matter how many food tokens there are in the kitchen, as long as it's at least 1, everyone will be fed. The normal characters, so everyone else but Knowles, will move 2 of those over here. They will still be eaten. But yeah, again, he's very, very, very efficient in respect to the food making. We are not asking him what he's cooking in there. We are simply eating it and are happy with that. So I think that was great. And as we did now amazingly well, I am somewhat tempted to do that again with Dr. Blair. But we have taken so many hits. So maybe we do want to make things slow. We are getting 2 of those tokens at least. So that's something to consider. But no, let's keep it slow. We still have McGreedy, of course. So we could have also given him something down there. But I guess we are calling it actually. So everyone is moving back to the leisure room. So we could now in theory exchange items and whatnot. Now we could make some accusations. Of course right now it's basically me against me, so we can pretty much skip that, and we don't have any items yet. So my plan was to send someone into the armory at least, but yeah, this didn't happen. Next we could perform some tests. Unfortunately, we neither do have the wire or the flamethrower, and we also don't have any blood bag tokens, so we have to skip that as well. So the next thing that will happen is that we are eating our spam here. It's also out of the game, much like as the fuel. And then we are for the first time bringing in the dogs. Right now they're all out here in the wild, and we will now move them to locations. And then the game really also starts to get a little bit more spicy in respect to all of those encounters, because we could meet a dog and this dog is immediately infecting us. So the first dog goes to the generator room down there. I will show that to you in a second where everyone is. That's the weather station, which is definitely quite helpful because it allows you to basically roll a second time and choose the better result to some extent. We have another dog in the armory down here, and the last goes to the boiler room. That could be a problem, but maybe we can send in Clark here to the dog, because again he can ignore those dogs. And if we are sending two characters to a location with a dog, they will automatically send that dog to the kennel, and then he has to break out first. So that's definitely something worth to consider. But right now all the dogs are here on the left side of outpost 31, right? It's 31, I believe. Yeah, that's basically, no, it's not quite it. The last thing to do is to move the alien threat marker one space here to the left. So we are coming closer. The alien threat marker will also move to the right. If it moves to a space where there are two or more characters at the same time, then I get to choose who is getting to be infected. But you see, it's really extremely close. So we have to start testing, because testing, and let's say we are testing successfully, so proving that the player, let's say the red player here, who is, I believe, Clark, is a human, then he will automatically move back to the green space. So this all helps tremendously, but there's only so much that you can do in a game like this. But yeah, really highly enjoyable. Let's do another round. Let's roll for the weather here, and that's cloudy, which is not quite as bad. So we are losing 2 fuel from the boiler room and 1 fuel from the generator room, which I believe is okay. So it's 2 here, that's okay, kind of a bummer, and 1 here I think is okay. This is only problematic if it's basically snowing again. But the good thing about the generator room, yes, we might end up in darkness, but at least we will be able to fix that. So again, once the boiler room is dead, it's dead. Then the base is starting to freeze. We can set rooms on fire in order to heat the place up, much like in the movie. But in this case, yeah, we have to do some damage control here. So someone definitely has to go to the boiler room here, and most likely it's going to be Clark. But okay then, again we are sending Dr. Blair to the laboratory for now. I think that goes without saying, and this time really might want to consider getting him some stuff, because he's getting 2 draws from the infection bag, or from the blood bag, or whatever it is. And if we're extremely lucky, we're getting 2 tests, so we may need to only send him there a couple of times, but let's see about that. Again, Clark is moving to this location here, to the boiler room. Again, he can ignore the dog. Normally he would now pull a token from this, and I think it's a 2 to 9 ratio here that you are okay. I think it's 2 to 9 as far as I can remember. Might be completely wrong. So there is a good chance that you might get infected. In this case, you are immediately getting infected, so you're immediately turning into an alien. Then again, terrible things will happen. And then what next? I guess we have to keep sending Knowles to the kitchen for now. Again, in a solo game, I couldn't care less. If you're playing a multiplayer game and you happen to have Knowles as your character, everyone will expect from you to move to the kitchen, which can be a little bit lame. Of course, there might be reason not to send him there, because there's a dog, for example. Then you may want to send someone else in there, Clark, for example. Or you really desperately need help somewhere else. In this case, you might really consider, let me go in there, have this weapon or whatnot. But yeah, that's very typical for a game like this. In Battlestar Galactica, when you are the president, you linger around on Colonial 1. You're not, whatever, launching Vipers only in the most dire situations or so. But yeah, it is what it is in a solo game. Again, it doesn't really matter. I get to play them all in the end. I definitely want some more repairs. So I sent Norris here to the radio room for now. And again, originally I was going to send McCready here to the armory, but with the dog, again, there is a good chance that I might be dead or basically getting transformed into a dog. I could send two folks in there, which could be a potential. The good thing about McCready, though, is his suspicion is still relatively low. But the same is true for, I think, Knowles, because they were working on their own, and I believe Dr. Blair as well. So we might also start sending them together into rooms, because right now they can afford things. So maybe send someone to the warehouse. Who should we send? Who should we send? I guess we are sending Gary to the warehouse because he gets a reroll. And I can always send one of my characters here to the dormitory. I think I said this was the dormitory before. That's wrong. That's the leisure room. That's the dormitory. That's a special action room in this case. Works differently in a multiplayer game than in a solo game. In the solo game, basically, I can lay someone down and then he gets to reroll a die for someone else, which might still be helpful. And honestly, right now, I'm thinking of doing that just for this turn, because really the way how those dogs moved, I didn't like that at all. Let's leave it at that. We still don't have an exposed alien, which means we can directly move into the action phase. So there are no encounters whatsoever. Again, he ignores those dogs, so he's okay anyway. So yeah, let's simply roll those bones, and that's again a very devastating roll. I could now use McCready's, let's call it, action for this round, and it's not re-rolling a die, it's really setting it to any side, which in this case could make sense. I think I will do that. So he's lying down and I will flip this to the other side. I will assign those dice now to Knowles, who can take this suspicion hit, I believe. So he's negating this, which means he will move on the suspicion track one space to the right, but that's okay. Then he's using one of those. So again, we are moving one spam over here to the kitchen. So we are okay food-wise this round. Then I definitely will carry on. We still have Gary down here. He could also re-roll a die again, and that's the good thing is, as we are not in darkness, I still get to roll first, and then I get to choose who to assign those dice to. And that's a pretty amazing result, actually. And as we do need fuel, I will assign those dice down here to Clark, right? So he's using the use thing. We are moving one barrel here to the left, which hopefully is okay. Again, we have a 2/3 chance that 2 barrels are sufficient, but then next round we definitely have to do something about that here. But that's that. I guess this was such a cool roll, so let's do that again, right? But we already have used 3 of our characters, though. McGready here just to take a hit for the team, basically. And that's okay. That's only 1 penalty, and right now he can also take that. And I'm really inclined of doing that. So yeah, we are going to negate this die, so we are moving him to the 3rd space of the track. So right now that's still okay. And again, his special ability allows him in the lab, when he's assigned a use die, which is just the case, you may draw an additional lab marker. Now that's great. Let's do that, and I'm not even sure if we are allowed to get a cooperation bonus, but he's alone anyway, so let's do that. So we are assigning him a die, which means we are going for this bag of tokens. It's pre-stage. I think there are 12 good results and 18 bad results in there. We get to draw 2. In a multiplayer game, you don't show what you have picked, so you can as well, whatever, throw away a good one. But in this case, who am I lying to? So that's a bad one. So we have to basically, we can discard this, and here we have another one, and that's another bad one. Yeah, that wasn't great at all. Yeah, we have made the bag much better in respect to odds, but at least one I would have appreciated. But okay, that was a totally useless action. But we still have two more important folks here. So one here in the warehouse, I think not extremely important, but still okay. But here really getting those repaired might be a thing. So I will definitely do one more action right now. And of course, once I rolled, I cannot go back, obviously. So that was pretty amazing. Oh, I think, that's tempting now. But I think we have to repair, right? Yeah, let's do this thing first. We need to get the helicopter moving. Cool stuff. Nice. But then what? Are we going to do that again? Hopefully finding some tools. We could find the keys. We could find the wire. Everything can help there. And just to show things to you, and again, for me, that's a learning exercise too for this solo mode. I might go down, but here I'm really going to replay that game for sure, no matter the outcome. So let's do that again. Let's go all in respect to our actions. And yeah, that's one of those alien threat thingies. So I guess why not? Let's move him up. He will be tested, hopefully, rather soon. But so we have negated this one. We are assigning this die to Gary down here. And I believe we are drawing 2 cards from the, I think, items deck and get to keep 1. So here we have some fuel, which is okay. And here we have the wire. The wire would be amazing for future tests. But in order for the wire to be successful, we need the flamethrower. I mean, you have all seen the movies, right? So I guess it's early in the game and this gives me a direction at least. So that's a good thing. And with this we can test whoever we want. That's a good piece. If we find again the flamethrower. Yeah, let's do that. Let's give this wire to Gary. Again, we can trade those later on. And this basically goes back to, I think, the bottom of this item deck. So it's most likely not going to be seen again. But those are basically all of our actions. So we were using them all. Nice. So again, everyone will move back to the leisure room. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anyone. We could now trade stuff. We could accuse someone. But again, that's not a thing for the solo mode. We cannot test because, yeah, unfortunately we didn't find the proper blood bag and we didn't get a flamethrower, but at least we have the wire already prepared. Now that's at least something. And I totally forgot I could have Gary re-rolled stuff. Do you allow me this one mulligan? I think this was his result. And I think we get the reroll. So let's try that. So maybe we get our suspicion back. And yes, we do. So he goes back to the same space as Clark. So apologies for that, but I think this is really crucially important. Nice. Let's eat some food. So again, this is out. Again, the dogs will move and they will move every round. So one goes to the helicopter of the base. I mean, we have to move them all basically. They're moving everywhere. So this is moving to the helicopter. I'm totally okay with that. Again, the armory. That's a bummer. We have, oh, kitchen is now really bad. So this might be really the one instance where we would send Clark, for example, to the kitchen instead of Knowles. And again, the weather station. Not sure what the dogs are sniffing there. And then last but not least, we are moving, oops, the alien marker 1 space to the left. I think for today, I really want to keep going. So let's do one more round in this video. Again, let's roll the die. Again, it's snowy, which means 2 of those are gone and 1 of those are gone. So this round we really have to send someone to both locations, maybe here even 2. I believe there is a character in the special character pack or so. I really don't know who he is who can basically work more efficiently in the boiler room or in the generator room. Again, unfortunately, I do not have that character package, which is really, that's a bad thing. I do get it that you have to pay for the extra miniatures, for the character miniature. That's totally fine, I get that. But this pack also comes with additional playable characters, which you don't get in the base game alone, and that sucks. This is really something which totally sucks. Yes, I know, it's a reward for supporting Kickstarter, but that's really a bad practice. I hate that. But okay then, enough with the rant. We have to send Clark to the kitchen because again, he can ignore this stock here. So this round we are losing 2 spam, but because Knowles was really doing exceptionally well the last 2 rounds, I think I'm okay with that. I do think we want to finish repairing this room here? We send Knowles and most likely not Dr. Blair. I think we are sending McCready in here to support him. In theory, we could now send a third character in there because we could repair. We need one repair actually only, and then the other character could do the use action. No, I think having two characters in there should be sufficient actually. No, let's leave that as it is. I'm tempted to send Dr. Blair again to the laboratory, but then again, we don't have enough in here. I think sending one in here is okay. So we have to send Dr. Blair in here with someone else. And I think the white character, he needs to be on his own, and the blue character, I think those two can meet. Again, we have to do some control in respect to our suspicion trick here. I mean, this is only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more spaces away in the next round. It's one less even. So I think, yeah, having some control over the suspicion trick is key. Okay then, let's do the encounters. And the good thing about weapons in this game is if one of the characters is carrying a weapon, he can basically evade those encounters, at least encounters with other human players. That is also highly confusing, and in the rules I think it has been clarified in the FAQ, partly on a Facebook response from one of the designers and some stuff on the Geek. So those weapons only work for human players or against human players. That's my understanding right now. It doesn't work against dogs, it doesn't work against the alien. Again, thematically also makes perfect sense, but really not very clear in the rules. The rules, for the most part, I would say 85 to 90% are totally fine, but those 10% are unfortunately with some of the key things which make the game a little bit confusing. But again, it's definitely enjoyable. So those two will move, so that's the blue and the green disc accordingly, and similarly McReady and Knowles will also move to this space. So right now they're all nearby. I think that this is okay. Again, he can ignore the dog, so that's fine. Then let's roll some action dice. Again, there is no exposed alien, so we can directly move in there. And wow, that's terrible. That's truly terrible. What to do with this result? I think I'm going to assign this to Gary because he can re-roll one die now. Let's do that without the dice tower here, and that's much better. Okay, so he will take one suspicion hit, which moves him to the top of the pyramid, but he gets to use those things, which in this case means we are taking one oil also from this storage and placed here onto the generator room. Nice. Okay, still not a great first roll. We have used him, so hopefully it doesn't snow next round, because then we are taking 1 damage. 1 damage is still okay. We are still not in darkness. If this 2 spaces are covered, then it's basically a blackout. Then, yeah, we have to keep going, right? So, also not pretty, but at least we have some choices here. And I believe, yeah, we have to assign this to either McCready or Knowles. Doesn't really matter who in this case. I like them really both, though I think McCready is the more, I don't know, it's the braver character. I mean, it's Kurt Russell in the end, you get the idea. So he's negating this, he's moving up, but now we get to repair. We are taking the cooperation bonus here, which means we can repair them both. Nice. So if we now get a use die, we can assign it to Knowles, and we can basically sign off on this radio room here for good. So we definitely have to keep going. So let's roll. Oh, that's a perfect result. So yeah, I think this goes without saying. We will assign it to Knowles, which now puts the helicopter here onto this space. We are moving the fuel in here, but the fuel is, I believe, no, I think it's moving also 1 space each round. And once it's here, then the helicopter is out of here, and then we have to find alternative ways to make it out of here. Nice. The thing is, we definitely still need 1 more use action down here. That's the minimum. We can take 1 round of starvation, but yeah, let's do that. That's the use one, so we can definitely assign it to one. So it's green or blue. In this case, we assign it to green Dr. Blair. So they're all now here basically. But at least we have negated this. We still have use action left. And again, doesn't matter how many of those we have. It's one action. So we are basically laying him down. He gets the cooperation bonus in here. So this gives us 2 few tokens in here. So again, with another cloudy weather, we should be fine. We still have 2 characters standing. So he's still here and Clark is in the kitchen. And I think we want to do one more. The problem is I would be more comfortable actually if we would have one test available to get someone back to green, because then we could send this someone or assign this someone more difficult dice and whatnot. So I think that's really getting. And there's also interesting discussion on the Geek, which I saw, is can you also continue testing humans that are yet you already tested successfully before in the solo game. You can totally do that in the multiplayer game because the situation can change throughout the game. In the solo mode, not so much, but I think we can do that. So let's roll one more die, and wow, that was bad. The thing is, I don't want to assign it to Norris down here in the boiler room because no matter what, I mean, they're both on the same space on the suspicion track. Here we would lose some spam for each of those sabotage results. Here the alien would move 1 space further to the left, which of course is horrible. And the repair, oh, it doesn't really, oh, it's a repair. I didn't see that. So I guess we are going to assign it to Clark now. We will negate this one here, so we are moving his disc 1 space to the right, basically closer to the alien marker here, so he's now on the same level as Gary. But as we cannot do anything with the repair result here, there is no point in, other than, yeah, we could do that not to suffer the extra penalty, so we would lose 6 spam this round. If we would basically take the hit, we would only lose 4, but I think let's not go too crazy. Let's assign, or basically we cannot use it, we have to resolve that ill effect here, which in this case means we have to remove 2 spam from the kitchen. He's still laid down, which means he cannot take any more actions, and now we are calling it good. Yeah, that wasn't a great round actually. But again, everyone is moving back accordingly to the leisure room. Still, we haven't found any test whatsoever. Still, we have to eat as we don't have anything in the kitchen. They are simply eating basically the raw food, which is simply not as tasty, delicious. I don't know what it is, but they're eating much more. I mean, they're behaving like pigs in there, I guess. So that's that. Then we have to move the dogs. And again, you're shuffling the whole location deck each round, basically from scratch. So let's move the dogs out of here so that we know who we moved. So the first one goes again to the boiler room. That's a problem. The generator room, yeah, give it to me. Now we're going down. That's cool. That's the radio room. We don't really need it anymore. I like that. And we have the shed, which I guess is okay. Things would be different if I would have found the keys, for example, with my action here at the warehouse, for example. Then I would have definitely changed my pace and maybe would have given up on the rescue helicopter and would have started to repair the snowcat or the base helicopter here, for example. But yeah, that's kind of what the game is, a little bit situational, tactical. You have to respond to the situation. And then the last thing to do, of course, is to move the alien marker 1 space to the left. And that's basically, I think, 3 rounds of the game. And I must say the game is really moving extremely fast, which is also the case even in an 8-player game. I think we played it, I think the playtime was maybe 2 hours or so. Yeah, some explanation, but it's also not really a very involved teach in the end. I think we did it in 2.5 hours, again with full 8 players who have never played this game before, with all the questions in there. So it's really, really so refreshing. I mean, again, I'm a huge fan of Battlestar Galactica. That's my #1 go-to game when I want to play a traitor game. No questions asked, but yeah, it can take its time. So I think under 4 hours, I never played this game because I'm typically using a lot of those expansions to the base game. Yeah, a little bit faster than that, but as soon as you start adding more stuff, things get more and more complicated, and also depending on how talkative your fellow players are on the table. But this game really moves at a very nice pace, which I really do like. So I might not be surprised that in my next episode I might have to end it one way or the other. I mean, the alien marker is already here. We are starting to see our first aliens. I didn't really do a lot of progress. The helicopter will now move. That's the good thing. So we have at least made some progress towards the end of the game, but still a lot to achieve. We still have to do some investigations on who is who might be the thing, who might be a human player, because that's what I understand now. We still have to make that final test at the end of the game, at least, I think. But also, again, otherwise, having those loyalty cards would make sense in the first place. If the only thing that you have to do is this final fight against that thing, that is. Yeah, and I think that's that for today. Huge shout out to all of my patrons and channel members out there. Really do appreciate all your support. If you want to support my channel, you will find a link to my page on Patreon. You can join me on YouTube. There's a little thanks button here. Like and subscribe, leave a comment. Also greatly helps the channel. And yeah, with that being said, hope to see you soon in one of my other videos. And until then, bye bye.